What is up, peoples? Good morning and welcome to another morning power talk. So this morning's topic is pretty interesting to me because I'm going to talk about my biggest mistake ever. I made a huge mistake. I stepped into entrepreneurship back in 2013 because that was the year that my son was born. You see, prior to that, I was coming from a whole different realm. And I'll share that, a little later. It's a little too early to be sharing all that. But I came from a different industry, whole different world, studying a whole different influence. So I decided to step into entrepreneurship almost by mistake, to be honest. But of course, we know nothing is a mistake. Everything is predestined. I firmly believe that. So 2013, literally coming out of probably one of the craziest experiences in my life. So I had to make a radical change in life, right? I'll share that later on. It's too early to put all the jewels and the gems out like that. I want to build this up first. So when I get to where I believe I want to be, when I get to a point where I feel as if I can share certain things, this thing keeps coming off on me every time, this camera, right? I'll probably get to the point one day, hopefully sooner than I expect, where I can actually share some really deep things about myself and where I come from and why I do what I do. But anyway, one of the reasons why I stepped into entrepreneurship, which was back in 2013, is because, I share my story on my podcast, the Purpose CEO podcast with Dario, Philippe. Go check that out, please, on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, on all platforms where iTunes are, as well as Spotify. So, stepped into entrepreneurship back in 2013 after listening to a series of podcasts, a series of information, and just having my mind blown. Having my mind blown by this new information age with YouTube and Google and social media, where the gatekeepers are gone, I talk about. And what gatekeepers are is back in the day when you wanted to start a media company, back in the day, if you wanted to step into a certain industry, you had to know somebody who knows somebody who knew somebody, right? You had to come from a certain background, okay? You had to look a certain way. You had to have a certain last name, but these things, those days were gone. Now it was all about what you can incorporate within the industry or marketplace. And the possibilities were endless. And I made a very, very big mistake. I made a huge mistake stepping into entrepreneurship because I thought entrepreneurship was about, creating something cool, doing something that's never been done before. I thought entrepreneurship was about, just creating a product, a service, doing something that was within your skill set. And I must tell you, I was so mistaken. I made a huge mistake because I thought this thing was about, I thought it was about creating a legacy for my family. I thought it was about, creating an app. I thought it was about stepping into the tech world. I thought it was about a specific message, having a message that you wanted to share with the world that you thought would help other people. But I made a huge mistake. Because after a few years of entrepreneurship, I was literally hit with the reality that this is not about building products. This is not about business. Entrepreneurship has a lot to do with literally changing who you are. So I realized after several years of doing this, I realized that this thing is all about who you're becoming, not what you're creating. Stepping into business was about who I was becoming, what type of person I was becoming. And I realized that I was becoming a different man. Entrepreneurship has matured me more than anything I've ever stepped into. Because the amount of stretching this thing takes, the amount of, I'm talking about mental strain, spiritual, stretching this thing requires, I wasn't ready for it. And now I understand why many of you are afraid to step into this. Many of you many of you are afraid of stepping into this because you know how hard it is. You know that it's going to require for you to be a different person. So you're afraid. You know that you're going to lose friends. You know that certain people aren't just going to be around you anymore. You know that it's going to require for you to stretch. So because of that, you step away from this. Because when you first stepped in, subconsciously you knew. Subconsciously I knew. No one had to tell me this. I knew that it was going to require a different Dario. So I made a huge mistake. I made a mistake. I really thought this thing was about, creating these cool products and doing all this cool stuff, and it's not. It's really not. And I just want to give a quick message to some of you guys who are stepping into entrepreneurship, who are stepping into creating a legacy for yourselves, for your family, that listen, this is not about products, man. This life is not about products. This life is not about, I'm trying to get the right angle as I'm driving. This thing is not about products. This thing is not about, it's not about a service. This thing is not about money, although money is a part of it, although products are a part of it, although services are a part of it, and all these cool things are a part of it, but it's really not about that. This thing is about who you're becoming. I can't tell you how many versions of Dario has emerged from me stepping into entrepreneurship. Because I knew that it would require a certain type of person. This requires a certain person. It requires a certain characteristic. It requires a certain level of maturity and understanding and self-awareness. So I implore you this year, before the year ends, to step into this thing. Really lean into this. But once again, I must warn you because I made a mistake. I thought I could do this. I thought mentally I was able to do it, and I am. I thought I had the creative juice and the creative skills to create something, to make something that no one's ever seen before. Or many people are doing, but just to innovate it. And I do. Although, it's not about that. I realized that this was about what type of husband am I. I realized that this was about what type of father am I. What type of man am I? What do I believe? Where do I stand? What is my positioning? What is my positioning? What are my standards? What am I willing to do and not do? And this is another amazing thing about entrepreneurship, because it taught me about myself. It taught me what I was able to do. It taught me there are certain things I am not willing to do. There are certain values and morals that I have. I will not throw that away. I will stand on them. Entrepreneurship showed me that. It taught me that I can't be bought for money. Although money is very good, and I want to make as much of it as I possibly can, as I'm able to and have the capacity to make. But I realized that I'm not sold out for money. And I knew that, but the confirmation of it was amazing, because there were certain things I was offered in certain clientele and certain situations that happened where I realized that, okay, so money's really not a big thing for me. Of course, we all do need money, and we are in the game of money. Don't get it twisted now, okay? I'm not taking false piety. I'm not into all that crap. But it's not about what I thought it was about. Entrepreneurship is about who you're becoming. Entrepreneurship is about who you're becoming. It's not about your product or your service. It's not about how cool it is. It's not about the money. It's about who you're becoming. What type of man are you? What type of woman are you becoming? How is this thing stretching you? How many versions of yourself can you really crack? Can you really bring out? So I made a mistake. I made a big mistake. I thought it was about the cash. I thought it was about the cool stuff. I thought it was about laying on the beach. It's not about that at all. It's about the versions, how many versions of self. I got to get my car clean. I'm trying to hide the windows. Right? It's about who you're becoming. So I want you to understand, stepping into entrepreneurship is going to literally mentally crush you and spiritually break you. But this thing is not easy. It looked real sexy online though. It looks sexy. It looks cool as hell online. When I've got my little product launches and I'm launching stuff, it looks cool as hell. I make it look so cool. because I love film. I love creating the idea behind certain things, right? I love cracking codes. I love speaking to the spirit. I love speaking to the emotions. I love speaking to the mind. I love this type of thing. It looks really cool, and there's some people who do it far better than me, of course, but this is beyond product. This is beyond a service. Entrepreneurship is real, people. It has changed me into the man that I am today, that my wife can vouch for, that my children can vouch for, my friends can vouch for. Well, some friends, because I've lost many. I've lost many. I've lost many associations. I've lost many friendships. I've lost many allies who are not going the same direction I was going. But at the same time, I've gained so many as well. I'm trying to hide these windows. I didn't clean my car this week. So don't make the mistake I made. This thing is real. It's going to turn you into somebody. And the real you's going to come out. It's going to have to come out. Because you're going to get broken. You're going to get crushed. You're going to realize things about yourself you didn't know before. So once again, entrepreneurship is not about the money. It's not about looking cool. It's not about the product, the service. It's not about that whatsoever. It's about the man you are becoming. It's about the woman you are becoming. What type of man are you becoming? What type of woman are you becoming because of this thing? Like I said, I've broken so many versions of myself. I've become such a different person. I'm not the same anymore. I thought, and I've always been a highly mature individual for my age. But entrepreneurship has opened certain chambers and certain chambers in my life, in my mind, in my heart, in my spirit that I never thought were possible. So when you step into this, as you step into this, for those of you who are just stepping into this newly, all the newbies stepping into entrepreneurship and purpose and trying to figure out who they are, just understand that this is a journey. This is a journey. Embrace the journey. Embrace the process. It's going to be hard. It's going to be tedious. It's going to break you. You're going to feel like giving up. You're going to feel inadequate. You're going to feel unworthy, but you got to stay in the game because it's not about where you're going. It's about who you're becoming. It's not about what you're creating. It's about who you're becoming. It's not about what you're seeing. It's about who you're becoming. It's not about the product. It's about who you're becoming. Who are you becoming? Become that. Become the greatest version of yourself. This is about becoming the greatest version of yourself so that when you step on that stage, wherever you're going to be, so that when you get to the final process or the final exposure of your product or service, whatever it is, you're ready for it. So don't rush this thing. This thing is real. Going viral is amazing. I wish I would have went viral because there are certain things that I definitely need to get out the way. So going viral is amazing, but at the same time, it's the worst thing to go viral and you're not ready for it. It's the worst thing to go viral and you're not business minded, so you can't continue it. This ain't a gold rush. You know who made the most money during the gold rush? It wasn't the people who were quitting their jobs and going out there to California for the gold rush. The people who made the most money during the gold rush were the people who were selling the tools. So be smart. But don't make a mistake. Question of the day, who are you becoming? And who do you want to be? We'll talk later.